Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim Prister with Tim O'Malley, Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis. Notre Dame in their second practice. We saw 5 periods of football, Tim. There isn't a whole lot to say from what we saw today. I'll be writing about the defensive line, and Tim has some offensive observations. But I want to go back really and continue our conversation from yesterday and start with the quarterbacks because, ironically, Drew Pine was the more successful of the 2 quarterbacks because of his feet. He created plays in the red zone because of his feet. We're accustomed to saying it the other way around with Tyler Buckner.
And they worked on today in the brief periods I saw quarterback. They did work on rolling right and throwing, and Drew Pine did look crisp doing it again. He has plenty of zip when he moves, and it's important if you guys think about Drew Pine as the backup. He's undersized. All we talked about last year was one reason Drew Pine wouldn't start over Jack Cohn was because he gets enveloped in the pocket and can't see over it. Well, now they're getting him on the run. He's throwing some nice passes today, and it's people upset that Drew Pine is doing well. It's ridiculous. He's probably have to start a game. He's gonna have to play in some games, and you don't want the same Drew Pine that left off last year against Cincinnati.
Well, it is what it is, and Tyler Buckner needs to. It's something that Tommy Rees has talked about since the spring. He needs to take charge of the offense and take charge of the situation, and that it doesn't mean scrambling and running in what is designed as a passing drill, but create space for yourself, which Drew Pine did a good job of. I did watch the defensive line today, and my observation is the same as yours about Riley Mills. My goodness, this is a guy that, he's combination defensive end, defensive tackle. He is a true defensive end and capable of being a defensive tackle, but he looks really primed to have a heck of a year.
He's good enough that he moved our number 11 player on all of Notre Dame's roster, Justin Admiola, to the bench, basically. Not to the bench, but to play various roles, because Riley Mills is going to hold that point on the strong side. He's all of 283 or whatever he's listed as right now. You mentioned he can play inside. The beauty of it is I don't know if they need him to play inside.
No, they really don't.
They really are set for a strong season of the defensive line, and I can't wait till we're back here in pads when they go against the offensive line to see. I can't imagine the offensive line is as good, but I want to see what the offensive line does against that first and second string.
Right. Tim, what else did you see on the offensive side of the ball today?
Actually, Chris Tyree, if you looked at Notre Dame's running backs, you are absolutely certain who the starting running back is. When you look at Chris Tyree operate, I was talking to Jack Freeman earlier, the quickness of his feet in these drills, his build now, he looks like he belongs like Kyron Williams looked like he belonged when he showed up last year. It's a stark difference, really, and it's hard to explain to people because he's been playing, but he just looks like a starting running back right now.
What stood out to me yesterday in doing the offense was that his lower body, as impressive as Audric Estime is, upper body physicality, Chris Tyree's lower body development is striking. Now, whether it was always that way or not, I don't know, but he gained 7 pounds, and with the situation the way it is at running back, he needs to be a guy that, we always said 8, 9, 10, 12 carries. It's going to have to be, more than that.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're probably preparing him for. It's not 20, 25. That's a thing of the past if you're not Josh Adams anyway. But if you get that 12, 16 range, and then Estime and Jabron Payne can fill in. Logan Diggs going through drills. Spin move, really nice spin move, ended up on the ground on his shoulder, so they're going to tell him to stop doing that, I'm sure. But the good news is that he popped right back up. The good news is that Logan Diggs will be conditioned to play when he's medically cleared to play because he's going through all these practices, and I'm not sure that would have happened in the past. You know
who has a great spin move? Dylan Edwards. He's a running back that will be making a decision here today, probably choosing Notre Dame. But jumping back to the defensive line, Chris Smith, I know you commented on him. When I watched him at Harvard, I thought he was combination. He's certainly a nose tackle, but I thought he could play some defensive tackle. He's a little squat for that, I always realize that. I thought I saw a little bit more mobility. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I think he's a nose tackle. You've got your defensive tackles. Why don't you talk about a couple interesting combinations you saw on the D-line yesterday?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is when you see guys like Junior Tui Halamaka coming up and playing on the edge, it's not out of need. They have all they need on the edge. That means that someone like that has really flashed for them, and you're able to move Justin Admiola around. This is just the outset of practice, and you're seeing him play on both sides. I think it's obviously the strength going into camp for Al Golden to kind of figure, hey, I can build everything with these defensive linemen, build around them, and how the linebackers help that out as well. I do want to throw one injury note. Yesterday's best receiver, Jaden Thomas, was on the bikes today. He was in full uniform on the bike, so I assume he will actually participate as practice goes on.
We will have brief practice reports today. That's it today from Notre Dame Stadium. This has been Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis.